Hey guys, today I wanted to talk to you guys a bit about my pomegranate. Now, these are usually grown as either large bushes or small trees. For most of my plants that I grow as trees, I like to let them bush out, get the most growth, production out of them the first couple of years anyway, so I still don't know what I'm gonna do with this. I was thinking a tree would be cool just because you see them rare, but for production, bushes do put out a lot more, so I did put a couple more in my yard last year. I'm going to take you by those towards the end of this video to show you what half a season of growth looks like, or about a month, not even half a season. Now this one is, or was seed grown rather. I had a client who had I'd say about a 15-foot tall and about 10-foot round pomegranate in her yard. We would harvest, I'd say, about 50 pounds of pomegranates. It was probably a good, I don't know, 70, 80 pomegranates. It was a few boxes, but it was quite a bit. Now this variety was naturally sown, which is through some seeds from when we were eating them. We spit them outside, and this was actually off of her bush, and it just started growing. So one day I went back and seen it growing, and I asked what she was going to do with it, if she wanted it out, or I mean, it was obviously going to compete with the parent bush, so she said go ahead and pull it. Like I said before, I can't really throw living plants, so I did bring it home. It did kind of just lull for the first year, didn't do much, but the second year it definitely doubled in size. When I brought it, it was only about a foot tall, so it was very small. Now, where I have it planted here is not the best situation for it. You can see there's that big ugly shed. That takes up the light from the south, so it doesn't really get southern exposure too much. That's become an issue in the last couple years as we get sporadic cold fronts later in the year. Last year it started to grow and we got a snowstorm and it killed off, I'd say, a good third of the tree because it was about 6 feet tall then. Now it's about 5.5. It grew back some last year. But because it did kill off all the new growth, or the previous year's new growth, it did take all the buds, and with the buds it took the fruit. Now, like I said, this is from seed and it hasn't produced fruit. The first year, which was 2 years ago that it bloomed, it had maybe about 15 blooms, and as does happen with fruiting trees, it lost them. You usually lose about a third to half of your blooms. That's okay. Most of them are either male or female flowers depending on what type of plant you have, and you need a couple to fall off. If not, you're gonna get a bunch of little tiny fruit. So I mean, don't get worried if you lose blooms, that's fine. The best time to fertilize these for me is after you see them growing, because you can see, let me see here, there's a branch, there's no buds, there hasn't been any flowers. These aren't like your typical fruit trees where they flower first then flush out growth. These will be covered in leaves, I'd say probably in the next 2-3 weeks here, and then in about a month after they start to grow, they will be covered in red little blooms. Now, these are easy to propagate, but they, for me, haven't been able to have been propagated in just water. What I do is I take a cutting, like I've shown you on other perennial bushes or trees, and strip the bottom leaves. Usually about a 6-inch cutting will work. I try and get half of it in the soil. These do have to be done in soil, or at least for me. You can see here, there's one that I did late last year. It's not much, and I'll bring it with me so you can see. I do have, like I said, a couple more because I want to be able to turn that one into a tree eventually. You can see this one here. That was the same size as this last year. You can see the height's not much different, but it does have quite a bit more branches and it will grow quite a bit faster. Now this one here that I'm showing you is a different variety than what I have in the front there. This is a wonderful pomegranate. Now everything it says online, these shouldn't be grown anything lower than a zone 8. I'm a zone 7. And on this one, let's see if we can see it at all. You can see a little tiny growth. Now, because we're pushing the limits on what or where it can be grown, you will get some dieback. That's inevitable. And these were only planted with like a month left in the growing season last year, so I'm surprised they grew at all or even lived. But you want to take advantage of microclimates when and where you can. Now, microclimate is a small area in your yard that has just like it sounds, a small climate which is affected either by a natural or man-made structure or feature, I guess, like here. So this would be considered a sun garden because it gets most sun. But if we just walk a couple steps over here, you can see there's not much sun poking through there at all. So that would be a shady microclimate. And you can see we do have some stuff popping up there. These here are strawberries. And they've been going for, I'd say, about 2 weeks already, maybe 3. You can see a little strawberry forming right there. But those will produce from probably about May till they start to freeze up. They will lull a little in the heat of the summer, but they will come back. Now, just final tips for growing a pomegranate. There are varieties, or most varieties have thorns. Luckily, this one that I have here does not. That's why it's close to the walkway. So you will want to be mindful of that. Those really hurt and tear you up. Fertilizing, you'll want to do that, like I say, after it grows, starts to grow in the spring. And I used to do a fall dressing too, of either fertilizer and or compost. These things really love compost over chemical fertilizers. So if you can go with a natural organic fertilizer or compost, that'd be the best. Now these are drought tolerant and don't mind if you skip a watering or two, but to get the most out of the fruit, you want to stay regular with it. About twice a week is fine. You want to deep water them so you get bigger fruit. Let's see what else. Oh, fruit is usually ready September through October. Now, if you do let them get too big, they will bust open. You'll see cracks on the side of your fruit. And if that happens, then the birds usually get them. So keep an eye on it. Once they start to get nice and firm and to a size where you think they're ready, pull one off and try it. I mean, usually you don't have an issue where one will screw up your whole crop. So, I mean, take one off, try it. If they still need to go a little while, let them go. Now, they do have different colors and varieties. There's supposed to be some that are more cold tolerant, but from my experience, no matter what it is, gets to a certain temperature, you will lose some growth. And as far as color goes too, there's different colors of skin and insides of these pomegranates, so make sure you know what you have. That way you're not waiting for it to get red and it doesn't. Those are about all the tips I have. Hopefully this helps someone. And yes, we can grow pomegranates here. So hopefully someone tries. Thank you for watching and have a good day.